Good evening. This is All for United. We are back once again, and we are here, of course, as you would have seen on the thumbnail, to review all the joys because we made it. We are through. We've made it through to the next round, and we are going to be facing the old foe. We shall get to them a little bit later on in the show, but for now, we are going to take a little look at the game itself. Before we do that, let's welcome you all to our wonderful panel of joy that we've managed to assemble for this evening. Just below me, we have the one and the only. His name is Mr. Jarvis Cocker. Lovely to have you on the show, sir. How are you?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Barry? Good to see you, Fields and Andy. Good to be on this channel again. It's been a couple of weeks since I was last here, so good. And I'm looking forward to talk about the game. You know, it was an exciting game, so I have so much to tell you about my my take on the game. So yeah, this will be a good show. And guys, remember to hit the like.
Absolutely that. So yes, indeed, it was. It was an interesting game. We will get to that in just a second. But Andy, it is nice to have you with us too, Mr. Bean, indeed, in the bottom left or right as you're looking at it. How are you doing, sir? You okay?
Good, yeah. Always a pleasure to be on, especially after a win.
Yes, it's always nicer after a win.
Always is, yeah.
Dan gets a bit angry after a loss, so I'm hoping he's going to be a little bit happier today. We'll find out. Speaking of which, how are you doing, Grumpy Draws? It's the right-hand man on the left-hand side, as I like to say. How are you feeling?
I'm going to be far less grumpy today. I'm going to try to be a bit more positive, maybe.
Magnificent.
Maybe.
Forward to that. Evening to all of you who have arrived already. Dave, I saw you were here a little bit early, early-ish. So well done for you. And of course, Mark, welcome to you as well. So get your comments in, as we've already said, like and subscribe if you've got the opportunity to, which you all do because you watch it on YouTube, let's be honest. So it's definitely there. The only way you haven't got the opportunity is if you've lost, literally both of your hands, in which case we'll let you off. Right. Let's get to the game, shall we? Because it was a pretty massive game. Now, it's an interesting one because there were people yesterday, the day before, even through the previews. Stu, for example, was sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He had a moment of saying, well, actually, going out possibly wouldn't be the worst thing for us. But equally, it's the FA Cup and we love it. So therefore, you kind of want to go through. And there were people sort of struggling with that. But we really did. It took a long time for us to get there. So I kind of want to know from you guys, first of all, just your initial thoughts and feelings. So again, we're not necessarily going fully into the game, but just the actual result, the game itself. How did you feel? And are you pleased to be through? Or did you think, a bit like Stu, that maybe going out in that round might have been a bit more helpful? So Dan, we'll go to you on that one first.
For me, we've got to stay in it. It's one of the only chances, in fact, the only chance we've got to lift in a trophy. And I tend to fall more on the old-fashioned side, to be honest. I'd much prefer to finish fifth and win the FA Cup than finish fourth and win nothing, because people don't remember fifth place finishes and sixth place finishes. They remember people that lift trophies, and ultimately that's how you start to become successful. And 2 trophies in 2 seasons for 10R would be fantastic. So me personally, I'm glad we're through. I would have always preferred to go through. The only time you really should go out of these competitions is to your much bigger sides, really. It's gives us something positive to look forward to for the rest of the season as well. Like, I couldn't imagine a worse feeling that if we wouldn't have won, waking up knowing that we've got a chase on to finish even 5th, and the season's pretty much done, and then we're literally down to 1 game every week. And let's be honest, FA Cup, we should be able to beat anybody on the day if the right team turn up. So yeah, for me, really, really happy that we're still in it. And it was nice to see a little bit of fight from the lads, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough point. I would definitely agree with that. Andy, for you, how did you feel about the game, the result? Woken up this morning in the cold light of day, still feeling positive about it? What's the feeling in the Bean House?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I love the FA Cup, mate. I love us having the good runs in it. I think the season would have been pretty much over if we'd have lost that as well. So I think it was a massive game. The performance was what I expected it would be with the team that was out, but big thing was getting a result there for me, staying in the cup. They're just one-off games, aren't they? Cup games, you beat anyone. So let's, we're still in it. So we're still in the hat. We're still in we have a chance of winning it. That's all that matters.
Absolutely, that is definitely the thing. Certainly, I heard that being said by the commentators time and time again. With Alan Shearer, I think at the time, we won't go too deep into all the things that Alan Shearer said, but as he did say, just got to get through. Doesn't matter how you play, just get yourself through into the next round. Anything can happen in a one-off match. Jarvis, for you, what was your initial thoughts going into the game? Were you like the guys here? Are you thinking we need to progress because it's our only chance of silverware, or did you fall more down in the Stu Woolley camp of actually, you know what, let's just sack it off and concentrate on the league and try and get to fourth if we can?
Well, I'm extremely competitive, so I'm usually I want to win it all. But now in the current team with all these injuries, I think there was a little bit of a stretch, going for the FA Cup at the same time. Yeah, Manchester City coming up in the next weekend, so on Saturday, or is it Sunday? But it's. If it was up to me, if I was Ten Hag, I would have rested more players. I'm a little bit worried. Garnacho got a full 90 minutes, I believe, and other key players a little bit too much. Casemiro and stuff like that, because I think we need them at the 100% going against Manchester City, and I think that's a much more important game. But then again, a win is a win. We take with us confidence, and we are ready to go. And I think maybe this, at the end of the day, when we won against Forest the way we did, scoring in the final minutes of the game, we take a good feeling and a bag of confidence into the City game. So again, I think it's positive.
No, absolutely, I agree, and we can see the numbers shooting up a little bit as you're watching. So again, that little reminder: if you can like and subscribe, please do. That would be absolutely fabulous. So, I mean, the team was announced, and we're going to go to Andy on this one first because, again, it's Dan and it's dull. But the team was picked. It was an interesting one. Again, when I looked at the team, I don't know if I was surprised or not. I mean, obviously, Lindelof moved into the centre. Harry Maguire was injured. Just to add to the list, because there's just not enough of those at the moment, is there? Harry Maguire was injured, so Victor Lindelof slots into the middle. Rafael Varane alongside, and Amrabat finally gets given the opportunity once again to pop in the left-hand side of our defence. Scott McTominay was obviously in the starting position rather than Mainu, which to a degree I can understand, wanting to have a tiny bit of rotation and trying to rest some of the players as well. Anthony was taken out of purgatory and given an opportunity to play down the right wing, which was quite interesting. But what did you make of that starting lineup? Did you think that was the right call, or would you have played Lindelof at left back and maybe given Willy Camboila the chance? What was your thinking with regards to the team lineup when it came out?
Yeah, a little bit like what Jarvis has just said. I'd have maybe rested another couple just to err on the side of caution with the City game, and I probably would have played Camboila, to be honest. But when it came out, I was just more worried about the pace that Forest had in the attack with Amrabat, really. But I thought he handled that very well. I thought McTominay did well. Even Anthony, I thought defensively, I thought he was really good. Didn't do a huge amount going the other way, but yeah, I was okay with the team. But like I say, I'd have probably rested a few more with the City game in mind.
It's interesting, Andy, because Dan and I are in a bit of a, I don't know what's the word, butting heads a little bit as to whether or not Anthony's any good down the right-hand side. He's suggesting that maybe Anthony could go at like a right wing-back, saying he's quite good defensively. But my point is you want a right wing-back to actually be able to get up their pitch.
Yeah.
Do something to get in the final third. Just as a general aside on that one, who do you agree with, Dan or me? And just remember who it is who controls the little buttons.
Yeah, he doesn't offer enough going forward for me to be a wing back. Yeah, sorry.
No, good job, well done. You can come back next time. I'm joking, of course. There's absolutely all democracy here. People are free to think what they like. Speaking of think what they like, what did you reckon, Jarvis? Was you content with the team lineup when it was announced by Ten Hag?
No, I wanted him to rest more players, as I said in the beginning. But Ten Hag and the coaching staff and the medical staff knows the I would say do they run the blood work, or how do they find out if they are on the max for exhaustion or not? But I think they have control over the players. It feels like it, so they take a chance. I think players, young players, especially like Garnacho, as I mentioned, we should be really careful because they never tell if they're feeling fatigue, and they always want to go. They're young. That's how young lads go. They are always up and running. So for me, I would have rested them against their will. Say, okay, you sit this one out, and especially when I think back, in my upbringing with Ferguson, I'm used to this. We always rested players like Giggs. They have 1, 2, 3 maybe good games, and then he sat them on the bench for 2 or 3 games and just let them sit there and recover again, and then be ready for the next turn. So Ten Hag, I think, but we have learned to know Ten Hag, during this last year and this season. He never rotates his team. He plays most likely his strongest 11 all the time, and this is how Ten Hag runs. I think we are paying a price this season because he overdid it last season. He was. We are looking at the burnout this season. A lot of players getting injured. So I think Ten Hag needs to learn the pace and the Premier League, because it's too much. You can't play the same team for 60 to 70 games. We had 3 players last season. We had Bruno, De Gea, and Rashford. They played almost 7,000 minutes of football during last year's season, and that's too much. And now we see Bruno jumping around. He's limping. He's taking injections just to be able to stand on his legs and start every game. So for me, I think Ten Hag is overdoing it, and I think he could utilize the squad more and play the youth. We have plenty of young kids who are extremely brilliant footballers, and they just need a chance. And for Ten Hag to utilize his squad, that's what I think.
It's fair enough. There's a few people with a few points of their own. Mark again saying we'd like to have seen Collier, but maybe we'll see him get his chance soon. I think, throwing him in at the deep end there on an FA Cup game might have been a bit tricky. But yes, he absolutely could have come on as a sub, I think. Dave giving it, I'd like to have seen more of Ahmad, which 73 minutes, so you probably had about 20 there. Less of Rashford, yet another poor performance, says Dave. And Twillen was saying the worst on the pitch was Scott and Rashi for him. Get one chance, miss it, and go missing in the game. Garner looked tired, needs a rest. Feel for the kid. I've got 2 sort of questions for you, Dan, in this respect with regards to the lineup, which I think would be reasonable and fair. The first is about the Rashford one, because Rashford has played centrally in the last couple of games because of the fact that Højlund's been injured. We all know that centrally is not the best place for Marcus Rashford, that he's better coming in out of the wings and from the sides. But obviously he's doing a job because that's the job that he needs to do for the team, and sometimes you just got to suck it up and go for it. But equally, I kind of feel like that with Rashford, when he plays in the centre, people are just more willing to just stick the knife in because of the fact he may not have been performing as well as he could have done on the left wing. And I don't think the 2 positions are the same. I think that when it was Rasmus up at the front and he wasn't getting the service, that's what everybody said. He's not getting the service. How do you expect him to do any better? With Rashford, people always question his commitment, question his energy. But is he getting the service as well? So that was my first one, was, is it a lack of service when it comes to Rashford in the centre like it was for Rasmus? Or is it just genuinely that he's lazy, as some people say, or not? And the second question was Bruno Fernandes. There was a point about the injury, and I've seen Ten Hag quite angry, actually. The thing that we alluded to against Fulham, where Bruno swung his leg out, he's actually quite annoyed about that because that appears to be where the injury happened. It was strange because you watch it, he grabbed his leg, he did look like someone had just come up at him with a machete and chopped his ankle off. And then he gets up as if actually it was just a tickle with a feather duster. So you can understand why people watching that would go, what on earth is this? But there was a lot of talk about him not starting the game. Going to what Jarvis is saying about changing the formation, not the formation, but the players a little bit, rotating and giving a bit of a rest. Would you have given a rest to Bruno Fernandes yesterday?
I genuinely fully agree with Jarvis in pretty much everything he said. We need to start resting players. Fernandes doesn't like to miss games. Is it something like 219 appearances for Man United, and no games missed, something like that? So I mean, he's fair enough. He's a seasoned professional, so he knows how to tick his own body over, and he understands recovery, etc. But the Garnacho one is the one that's starting to worry me, because I don't think it's going to be long before he pulls up with an injury, because he's starting, and not just starting, but playing 90 minutes too often, and he will break down eventually if that carries on. It's not going to be as bad now because we've sort of pulled back on the games. We haven't got many games in a week. So yeah, I really would love to see a little bit more rotation, but and I think this is a fair criticism of Ten Hag. I genuinely only try and have fair criticisms of Ten Hag, and it is that it's Man United as well, but it's Ten Hag too. He's weakened the squad by allowing players to go out on loan who we probably should have kept for rotation for this exact purpose. And I think he has weakened the team a little bit. When you look at Fernandes, probably should have stayed. Hannibal maybe should have stayed. But again, I'm not just going to blame him, because I think the club has to put pressure on that for the FFP reasons as well. So we pass. In regards to Rashford, it sort of baffles me, to be honest. I think he's a prime example of the media target at the minute, because, as you say, when it's Højlund up front, we don't create enough chances for him, even though he's missed 12 big chances this season, Højlund, which is quite high on the list. So he must be getting some chances. But when it's Rashford up there, he's not working hard enough. Like, I can understand it in a sense, and Shearer touched on it. He could hold the ball up maybe a little bit better against Forest, maybe be a bit smarter, but he's not that player. And I think, I can't remember the last game that we did where Højlund started. He lost the ball 12, 13 times as well, struggling to hold it up. So it's not just one player. It's as a unit. It's why we're struggling defensively, and it's why we sometimes struggle offensively, because there's too much of a gap. They're not working together. There's a bit too much individualism. I actually thought the Forest game was much better in terms of we seem to have a little bit of control for a change. We didn't seem to give the ball away as much, even though we did a little bit as much. But I think it's harsh on Rashford. He's not in the best of form at the minute. For me, I think he's probably playing all right, nothing spectacular. But I mean, at the minute, is anybody playing spectacular? I think everybody's sort of pushing the same level, inconsistent. There's no real consistency. Højlund's probably the only one that's been consistent in the last 5-6 games. Everybody else is, like I pointed out, I thought Varane was exceptional against Forest. He seemed to be doing everything right, doing literally everything you would ask from him. But the 2 games before that, he was poor. More players need to get consistency everywhere. So we've got a little bit of it running through the team. So yeah, for me, it's a little bit harsh, but I draw the line where I like his interview that he's done. In one sense, I think it's good that he's answering critics, but at the same time, and I tweeted this out, talking to people like Andy Wall, who come on the show and watch the games every week. If these fans that are in this stadium every single week see you are committed, they will not be on your back at all, and they'll give you a lot more leeway than the Twitter police. And do you know what I mean? And while you've got them people on side, you're not going to have a problem at Manchester United. It's when them people start to question, are you running enough? Are you tackling hard enough? Are you giving everything for your badge? That's when you've got a problem. So Rashford sort of needs to ignore these trolls on the internet, or these people that share their opinion far too often, including myself, and pay more attention to the fans that are in the stadium. While they're still cheering his name and singing his songs, he's fine. He just needs to concentrate a little bit more on what's going on the pitch, not in the media.
Interesting points. Mark's come in with, don't disrespect Højlund's effort, mate, because you're a Rashford brand fan. Now, I don't know who that's aimed at, Dan. I'm hoping it's you. I've got a funny feeling it's at me.
I hope it's not me.
And I'm not entirely convinced as to why, because I'm pretty sure I haven't disrespected Højlund at all. I think I'm merely just, actually, if I'm anything, I'm disrespecting the fans that are potentially not looking at it with the same eyes. You know, it's the same with Weghorst. Everybody said the same thing. Oh, yes, well, he's not getting this, he's not getting that. When actually, he was just pants. You know, he was. I've got no, the William Prunier of striking.
I think this is spot on to what I was saying as well.
Oh, the guy under the icon.
That's me.
That's definitely you.
I say it's definitely
Not even using your name, he's not
misunderstood
happy
what
with
I
you,
said.
Dan.
And
Happy with you.
I'm not sure why you think I'm a Rashford fan. If you have a look through my tweets, you
Yeah,
will
watch some of his other shows.
Yeah, you'd quickly go back on that. I just think he's rightly had questions asked of him, but some of it's a bit too far. A little bit like Maguire, a little bit like other players.
Yeah.
If he's getting questioned by the fans that are in the stadium, that's when he's got his problem.
But Barry, when it comes to Rashford, I think now the writing is on the wall. I think we as fans and the club has seen some tendencies from Rashford the last couple of seasons. You know, he's been up and down every other season. He had purple patches where he performs, but he had bad patches where he doesn't perform at all. And especially this season, it's been at his lowest. You know, he's not producing anything, and he looks like he doesn't bother. You know, he's not bothered about anything, and I think it's not good. You know, I think the fans. They see him, they know his wages. He has a golden contract now, $350 a week, I think it is, and you know, we're making all this money, and he's the poster boy, he's the brand of Man United, he's the homegrown, you know, academy player, comes through, and like he's living the dream. And now for people, they think he's almost like he's pissing it away, you know, like Belfast, Bebe, and everything, coming late for training and not being a professional. And you know, I think we as fans expect that from Rashford, especially from Rashford. We have higher expectations for him. So for me, I think Rashford has one or two choices he need to make, and that is either to step it up and start behaving like a professional, not sipping around in the social media, going to Belfast and drinking and whatever, you know, and start performing and producing results. Or he should leave this season, because I think his welcome at Old Trafford is starting to be a little bit, not good.
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? And Paul says, I think when people see Rashford putting out tackles and not tracking back when he loses the ball, then they will not accept that from anyone. Obviously, Mark responding back to what Dan was saying, can you name one game where he's consistently given the basic effort? Toowoomba saying we have to stop making excuses for these players. I'm not really sure it's excuses. I think you do have to understand that there's reason. They're humans at the end of the day. You know, not everyone can be Haaland and be an absolute machine. You know, people are going to be affected by things that are happening. You know, that's just fair. That's life. But I think if it's consistently happening, then you absolutely have the right to sort of question what that's doing. And hence why Dave says every word of criticism that's been aimed at Rashford has all been brought on by his on-field attitude, not good. I mean, Andy, what I'd ask you about that is again, you look at the Fulham game. I'm a big fan of Alternative MUFC on Twitter. He comes up with some pretty interesting videos to watch. And there was just one with Marcus Rashford where he was running about. I say running loosely. And it interspersed with it. One of Peter Kay just doing sort of like a little waddle along. And it was honestly the worst run back to try and get a ball I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Is this where the problem lies? Where do you stand on Rashford? Do you think, like some others here, that maybe his time is up or not? Because we've seen it. We've seen that he can play well. We've seen him under Ollie. He was doing superbly well. We saw him under Van Gaal to begin with. He did incredibly well. He's had great bursts. Where has all of that skill and all of that effort gone? What do you think is happening? Is it just because he knows he's getting the money, so who cares? Or is there something deeper to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the frustration, that we know how good he can be. I think if you put the contract there, I think you could easily say, well, he's getting the big time Charlie type of mentality. But for me, it's just simple things for me. He's a Manchester lad, so he should be walking over hot coals for that badge. And I'd want to see that every game, the desire. I think it was the Luton game. He got literally walked past by Barkley just inside our half. I want a bit of desire and a bit of passion, because we're not playing well at the minute. Things aren't going for us. He is probably one of our senior players and one of the players we expect a lot from, like Bruno. So let's show us, the fans, that you care. That's all I want. You know, and if he doesn't score in games, then fine. But you've got the commitment and you've got the desire and the passion, and that's all I ask.
I'm enjoying all the comments there. Sorry, that happens to me occasionally. Sometimes enjoying reading what we're putting down and what's going on next. And I lost it. But it's good because Toowoomba's coming with this one, and I kind of want to ask all three of you this as well. We've done the Rashford chat. We're not a channel that bashes people want him to go. Absolutely, you have the right to say that. People want him to stay, you've got the right to say that as well. But we're not going to keep beating the same horse in that respect. So that's the Rashford chat done, really, because there wasn't really too much more to talk about with him. But Bruno is definitely one of them. You know, unlike Moana or whatever it is. I can't remember the wrong one. Encanto, that's the one. We do talk about Bruno. It took me a while to get my Disney references there for someone in a primary school, so I'm going to absolutely probably sack myself, to be honest with you, because that's unacceptable. But Bruno Fernandes, there's so much I can't, like the division, it's just unreal. I know that we've got close to 1 billion fans potentially across the world, so I fully get that you are never going to get vast swathes of the fan base agreeing. Getting a majority is always going to be hard, but I still maintain Bruno comes in for a lot of flack, and I still think he's one of the better ones. Now, I saw a tweet which had a video of Bruno kicking the ball back over his head, and then just the tagline underneath it, and yet people still compare this guy to Kevin De Bruyne. I can find you a crap pass, a crap shot, something terrible from every player on the planet. You could quite easily do that. I could have done that when I was having my Kylian Mbappe run a couple of weeks back. I could have easily found you one clip of Kylian Mbappe where he's done something wrong. But I just don't know if we're doing the right things when we start talking about Bruno, because I feel like, again, it's almost like that typical British tendency to put people up on a pedestal, build them up, and then when they finally get there, just take it out from underneath them and enjoy watching them fall and tumble. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I've got a lot of time for Bruno. Does he get it right all the time? No, of course he doesn't, but show me a man that does. You know, we are absolutely fallible. So whilst you're liking the video, boys and girls, you guys talk to me about Bruno. What is happening with Bruno Fernandes? You know, he tries to play for injury. He's always available. What's your thoughts? Andy, you can kick on this one. Talk to us about Bruno.
Yeah, I mean, to start off with, he's never injured, is he? He's there every game. You know, he takes so much stick, like you say. I think from rival fans, he gets the stick because he is that good. Whether they, want to admit it or not, he is that good. His numbers are comparable with De Bruyne, however much they try and rubbish those facts. And a United without Bruno is a United that isn't as good. I think it's just as simple as that. I mean, he does give the ball away a lot, trying these killer passes. But if he gets like half of these killer passes right, which he does a lot of the time, then we get good chances. And like the free kick last night, I thought it was a nice little dink ball in. I thought it was a nice ball in. I rate him very much. And if we lost him, I think we'd see so much difference. I don't know who in the squad now would offer us what Bruno offers. I mean, his theatrics are annoying, and I don't think he's captain material. But that's maybe another conversation. But I rate him highly, and I'm happy that we've got him.
What I'm about to say now is probably going to trigger some people, so I'm going to preface it with, I'm not saying it's exactly like, but Jarvis buying Bruno Fernandes for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was almost like his Eric Cantona moment, wasn't it? He was the signing that transformed Ole's team into something that really turned into a good team to watch, that gave us chances, goals, and he was amazing. I mean, the first year of his career at Manchester United was phenomenal. The numbers that he picks up were just unreal. Obviously, we didn't go on to win a league and many other things. We did make it to Europa League final, which Harry Maguire did not take part in, regardless of what some people might have said. But he can't be that bad, can he? What's your thoughts on Bruno?
I'm not Bruno's biggest fan. I gotta admit it. I got to admit it 100% because I'm about team. I'm about tactics. I'm about playing it on the odds, being a little bit cautious when you attack and go more for quality than quantity. And for me, like Bruno is the quantity guy. He just gives a bazillion passes, and if one of them sticks, he's the biggest hero because he got an assist. And for me, that's not how you play football as a team. People compare him to Kevin De Bruyne. That there's levels between those two guys when it comes to quality. on the number of passes they have and good passes. The other thing is Bruno need to learn how to recycle the ball. Sometimes he takes too many chances, and it affects the team. It affects everything with our team. Now we are trying to attack, and Bruno loses the ball because his timing is wrong. He always tries to find the best pass on the first run he sees. And this is a big problem. Sometimes you need to wait and take the second run or the third wave. And this is the problem with Bruno. We never recycles the ball. We never like dominate the opposition and then go and then strike, then bite. We always go for the first opening. And this is a big problem for me with Bruno because it affects all the team. We are trying to move our team upwards because Ten Hag's tactics, it's about what you call gegenpress, also to win the ball back again when we lose it high up the pitch. Counter pressing, it's the name on English, yeah. But we never have the people around because we don't have the time to move them up. And then when we lose the ball, there's only like Garnacho and Højlund around for the counter press. And then we know the story. It's a basketball game, back and forward, over and over again. And for me, Bruno affects the game too much. He affects our defensive midfielders, Casemiro especially, with yellow cards because he has to take them. The same with the center backs. He affects the fatigue of the team because we're constantly running up and down. And then again, we have injuries because of the fatigue. And this is so much for me that doesn't fit with Bruno. So for me, I would be glad if we just sold him in the summer and found a more playmaker of a number 10 who knows how to distribute the ball right, left, and center. We could see on yesterday's game there was a good tactical twist from Ten Hag when he moved Amrabat to the right. He got the right angles and he inverted much more into the midfield, helped Casemiro playing in the double pivot. Suddenly Bruno was much higher up on the pitch and he worked much better because Bruno then could be creative at the 18-yard line, not in the midfield. And we weren't that vulnerable when we lost the ball. Nottingham Forest only created 4 shots in the second half. So kudos to Ten Hag for this little tweak and Amrabat because he had a great game helping out Casemiro in a way. And when Amrabat was on the ball, you could see he could distribute the ball right, left, and center. And if you look at the heat map after the game, for once, we actually had a level heat map that was covering all of the pitch. We usually are very heavy on the left side, and we have many spots that we don't cover. But now with Amrabat, we played all over the pitch. So there was a lot of positives yesterday from the team effort, like tactically and structural, I would say. But the quality is not there yet.
I mean, it's interesting you say that about Bruno, but then obviously you spoke about Amrabat coming in and creating the double pivot behind. So, I mean, as a counter to what you're saying there, would it be a part of, or would it be fair to say that actually the problem is less Bruno and more the quality of the people that are playing behind him?
It could be a problem, as you mentioned, with the Solskjaer, because we had the McTominay Fred pivot, and they were mainly defensively. They were his slaves, running up and down all the way and winning the ball and giving it to Bruno. So in a way, maybe that suits Bruno better. So, but if we are going to play and have Ten Hag as our manager, that's where I see the problem with Bruno, because I don't think we can get Bruno to be a good part of this Ten Hag team. He's too wasteful and it affects everything for me.
It's a fair point. Dan, Kevin De Bruyne himself, when he was asked to pick the best players in his position, picked Bruno Fernandes at number 1. Now, we all know the old stories of people like Pele saying George Best was the best player and people like Zidane picking Paul Scholes as the best midfielder. You know, we know that professional footballers will do these things. My question to you, Dan, is that same one. If Kevin De Bruyne thinks that Bruno Fernandes is one of the best players in his position, who are we to disagree?
This is like Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard all over again, isn't it? And just in a modern day format. You've got all legendary players saying they'd pick Scholes, but then everyone thinks Gerrard's better. I've got a little stat for you. chances created in the Premier League since Bruno Fernandes made his debut for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes is on 407 chances created. The nearest player, and there's a scroll to this, is Kevin De Bruyne on 334, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold on 313. So he's nearly 100 ahead of Trent and 70, 80 ahead of Kevin De Bruyne. Now, if De Bruyne would have played more games, he undoubtedly would have made more chances. I don't disagree with that at all. The point I'm trying to get at is if you took Bruno Fernandes and put him in Man City's team where he wasn't having to play right wing, centre mid, run absolutely everywhere, often triggers the press, we wouldn't be having this conversation because he'd be on 800 transfers created with 200 more assists. It's just, he's unfortunately in a Man United team that aren't doing very well. Now, he's muted himself.
I'm muted. Sorry, did you just say 200? I was so shocked.
I was exaggerating quite a lot.
Okay.
But
no, that must be my hearing aids. One of them must have gone wrong there.
When you're talking about stats,
Okay.
stats is not the same as the eye test, and the eye test tell me something different, Fields.
No. This is what I was just about to say, and it's a weird one because I completely agree with what Jarvis is saying. So you've got to. Fernandes doesn't work in this system. I've said it quite a few times over the last 4 or 5 shows in terms of you can see the gap in the midfield. There's an issue with the huge gap in midfield. Often Fernandes will trigger a press, but nobody else will go. It's either he's gone too soon or no one's on the same wavelength, which causes a gap. So you've got to decide as Ten Hag, and it's going to be his job, unfortunately, can you get what Fernandes needs behind him and get the team balanced defensively and in midfield that you can push him up to the 18-yard box and he's no longer a problem to you in midfield because all his creation is coming where it comes best and where it came under Solskjaer from the 18-yard box. You've got to, can we get the players in to do that? I've said it many, many times. Some of these players, no matter how good they are, won't fit Ten Hag's system, and whatever he decides, we've got to back him because he wants to play a certain brand of football, and he's not going to be able to play that brand of football with some of these players. They just can't do it. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. So it's. I mean, personally, I love Fernandes. I was frustrated watching the game yesterday because every time he got the ball and released the ball, he was getting kicked by Yates. Specifically, Yates was on him. And every time he passed it, he was getting kicked. And then people go, oh, what's he rolling around for? I don't think they've been kicked around a pitch much by a 13, 14 stone bloke every 5 seconds, on the shin, on the toe, pinched. He would have been doing everything. Anyone that's played it, you all understand what's gone off through the game. And you could see he was getting frustrated, Fernandes. You could see he was getting wound up and his emotions were getting the better of him a little bit. But yesterday he reacted in the right way. And I would say a couple of times this season, he sometimes reacts in the wrong way. So he doesn't let his football do the talking. He gets a bit too pulled into these things, gets a bit overawed by it. For me, I would 100%, if I was in charge of Man United, I'd be finding a way of making Bruno that pivotal point on the edge of the 18-yard box. But you cannot argue with anything Jarvis has said, even though he's suggesting we should sell one of the better players, because sometimes system is more important than personnel. And I think that is one of my issues with Ten Hag this season, is that so true, and he's just not got these players yet, so he can't do what he's wanting to do. So if you're backing Ten Hag, you've got to back every single decision he makes.
True.
Interesting points. Connor's just popped in here and he's gone, love hearing Jarvis's thoughts on United, which I think we all agree is absolutely brilliant. And then he just goes, and then the rest of you, of course. So most backhanded compliments. I think you've done me there. So HR meeting, and we'll have that at 10:10, Connor. So just, and exactly, like and subscribe if you haven't already. While we're on the topic of Bruno Fernandes, he had a little moment, didn't he, with Felipe right towards the end. And I suppose we should get to that one now, seeing as how it links and segues nicely into it. Andy, I couldn't quite believe my eyes when I watched this, because I can still remember Casemiro grabbing somebody's collar and being told off as if he had just tried to strangle the life out of somebody. And here we are, not even a whole year later, really. And this guy's actually grabbed him with one hand by the throat. The last time I saw somebody grab someone around the throat like that, it was The Undertaker, and he was about to choke slam mankind straight through the steel cage. I'm quite surprised that Bruno wasn't lifted up and just boom, straight, choke slam from hell or something like that. Honestly, what the hell? How was Felipe allowed to remain on the pitch?
I mean, for me, as soon as that goes to VAR, how that's not a red, that's crazy. I mean, I remember the Casemiro one. I think it was Will Hughes, was it, for Palace? And he was more sort of holding him off, wasn't he? More so than like aggressively doing it. But last night that was an aggressive grab. And for me, VAR see you've got to go for that. I think. But if that was the other way around, if Bruno would have done that, Bruno would have got sent off there 100%. Yeah. If Casemiro would have done that, Casemiro would have ended up getting like 6 years or something. They'd have thrown the book at him. But if that happens in the derby on Saturday, if Casemiro does that in the derby, he'll go. And I think it's decisions like that, the consistency of the refereeing, where us as United fans will say, well, if Casemiro does that, because we see him getting soft yellows all the time, we want a little bit of, not making it even, but you want a bit of consistency from the officials to know that if someone grabs you around the throat and you're off. I mean, he didn't even get a yellow, did he? The ref didn't even yellow card him, did he, in real time? No. I mean, it's crazy. We can all see that shouldn't happen. So how he gets away with it after it goes to VAR, for me, is absolutely crazy.
I mean, Jarvis, again, as we just said, it's so frustrating to watch these things. And you hear people say, if that was Casemiro, he'd have been sent off. If that was Bruno, he'd been sent off. I don't go too much for conspiracy theories. I refuse to sit there and believe. Maybe it's just my naivety. Maybe I just sit here and like to see the best in people. I don't know, but I've said it before on this show. I don't imagine that any referee genuinely goes into a football game thinking, I'm going to absolutely do over this lot somehow. We'll get to the other decision that I wasn't crazy about afterwards. But for this one, how can it be possible that just a year later, apparently it's all right to grab people around the throat? Because this one was clearer. Casemiro's, they only had one angle out of 3 that looked like he was choking them, because the other 2 clearly showed that he was holding on to the collar. This one, it didn't matter where you were looking. You could go 360 degrees all the way around. It's got to be red, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, and he also had like a little choke with his fingers afterwards on his throat, just like almost like Darth Vader, like trying to choke his admirals on the Death Star. And it's not. If you think of consistency from the referees, yeah, that's a big problem. And the precedents they have set with Casemiro, I think they always should give a red card automatically and a 3-game ban when it comes to choking, because the precedent is set. And the Casemiro thing was a big deal. I'm 100% sure that the referees and everybody, they talked about it afterwards and how they handled the situation, and they gave themselves a pat on the back and said, well done, referee, well done, you gave him a red card for choking. That's violent conduct. Okay, that's the law of the book. But now when it comes to this, I don't know what the referees are doing, but we had 2 of them on the stands. What's his name again? The chief Webb, the chief of the referees, that were sitting there watching this, and afterwards they should have a serious talk and find out what they actually are doing, because this is so frustrating. I'm okay, with not giving a red card if it's just like pushing away, if it's not like really violent. Sometimes your hands comes up in the face and everything when you play football. It's just the name of the game. It's a little bit violent, it's football, but for me, then it's the intention. It was a malice intention from the Nottingham Forest player. I don't think Casemiro had a malice intention when it comes to his choking or grabbing the collar. So this was even worse, and it was nothing. So I'm confused. I'm very confused when it comes to the referees.
Don't blame me. If at any point any of you are missing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if you just close your eyes a little bit, every once in a while when Jarvis is speaking, there's just little inflections in the voice, and it just takes me back And I can't help it. This is the old romantic in me. Just goes, oh, it's Ollie. And then I realise it's not. But there we go. Dan, is Dave right here? Maybe one hand's okay and two is off. Is that where we went wrong? You can do a one-handed choke, but if it's a two-handed one, it's game over. I just sit and look at the fact that Diogo Dalot got a red card within 5 seconds because he had 2 yellow cards within 5 seconds because he shouted. And then I look at the fact that Bruno's airwaves are restricted. And that's nothing, something that could potentially endanger life or voice, or I mean, that's my turn to use hyperbole now, but like genuinely something stupid like that. At the end of the day, the ref got shouted at. Bruno Fernandes got physically assaulted. If that's on the street, that's GBH, isn't it?
It just baffles me. Do you know what? Dave might be right, because I can remember the Casemiro one, and I can remember watching it, and Jordan Ayew is literally stood next to choking Fred with one hand, and that was perfectly acceptable at the time. Only Casemiro got sent off. So maybe it is because it was one hand. The thing that got me about it was the squeeze. So you could see him squeeze, and that for me is enough. If you're just holding, then like we've got to keep a little bit of physicality in the game in terms of you can get a bit irate and stuff, but he gives him a squeeze. I genuinely sat there, and I'm not making this up, and I thought for a second Fernandes might be in trouble here because he's hit his hand away, and that's the way the officials have been for me this season. I can see Bruno Fernandes getting sent off here for punching his hand away rather than the guy being sent off for choking him. But Twalumba made a point. He'd lost the game already. And I genuinely think that came into the referee's head because it was so late, because it was in the corner, because he was not far away from blowing the whistle. It doesn't make it right, but I genuinely think they might have thought, there's no point in sending him off here. They've lost the game anyway. However, can you imagine if they would have scored?
Yeah.
We'd all be absolutely furious. So
for me, you can't ref the game like that, can you?
No, you shouldn't.
You can't ref the game on what might have happened, or
the precedent's been set.
A red card is a red card.
Yeah. So, well, that's the thing. They've set the precedent. We've seen other players get sent off for this so-called choking stuff as well last season. I think Gibbs White might be one of them, actually. So you would think that it's a red card. I've not seen any rival fans disagree in terms of it should be a red. They've all just gone, oh, Fernandes is a rat, he deserves to be choked and stuff, ridiculous stuff. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a clear red card. I've baffled more every week. My issue now is VAR. It's becoming it all seems to be subjective. So that referee will now say, well, in my opinion, there wasn't enough of a choke for it to be a red card. Whereas the other referee in the Casemiro went, oh, well, I thought it was enough. If it's subjective, then it shouldn't be in VAR.
No, I agree. And like we saw your, I saw your tweet at the end, and I used the AFU account to respond to it for this very reason. Howard Webb was sat there watching it, as Jarvis has already alluded to. The bit that I find that just takes this beyond all parody is the fact that Nottingham Forest have appointed a referees analyst in Clattenburg. And I feel like the only thing that they can do is to sort of go there with their wrists outstretched and go, it's a fair cop, I should be done here. But that won't happen because they're only interested in finding things on other decisions that have gone against them. They won't, obviously, nobody's going to be interested in doing that. You know, it would take you back to the old Robbie Fowler days of saying, oh, no, it's not a penalty, really. So, madness. But there we go. But I want to go to the bit that really got me because the goal is two massively different feelings. Bruno Fernandes gets the free kick. He whips it in there. Casemiro gets the lightest of grazes from the ball, which I honestly thought was what caused him to bleed in the first place, which didn't seem like it was enough, really. I was like, oh, dear, he's made of glass. But I don't think it was that. But he gets the header. It goes into the back of the net. Brilliant. VAR checks it for offside. Okay, fine. Brilliant. They clear Rafael Varane. It takes them 5 minutes to work out that Casemiro is onside, even though it's about as obvious as it can be that he is onside. Now, I said to you a minute ago, Jarvis, I don't subscribe to these conspiracy theories, but genuinely, that just felt like they were looking for anything Absolutely anything that they could turn around and say, sorry, we can't give you the goal because of this. Because how could that have taken that long? Even Alan Shearer's sitting there going, I can't see how anyone can say this is offside. He looks on to me. It's only Varane. So, and he said it, even though Varane had been cleared. He said, well, Varane could potentially be blocking. And the other commentator had to say to him, no, they've cleared Varane. What are we waiting for? Let's crack on and play football.
Yeah.
What was your view on it, Jarvis? Because, first of all, the goal, brilliant from Casemiro, just when we needed it, saved us going into extra time, which I really didn't need before a Man City game. But then equally, the absolute dross that was VAR.
Yeah, no wonder people are starting to hate VAR at the moment. I think 50% of the fan base now, or footballing fans, are saying scrap VAR. We are fed up. You can't even celebrate when we score a goal every time. I just sit there like, what's going on? No VAR, no VAR. And finally, I can just cheer when we take the kickoff again, because this is how football has become. It's not about the clear and the obvious. It's about finding micro millimeter offsides and stuff that people don't even notice. Even the players don't even know. Oh, did I do that? Oh, and then suddenly the goal is disallowed. So now it's starting to get a little bit silly. And the time wasting 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes to make a decision. What's that all about? It should be 30 seconds. You have your chance. If it's not obvious, move on. That's how the rule should be. So it's they need to do something with this VAR, and if they don't do anything, I think people will be sick of it. They don't want to watch football anymore. It's ruining the game. So for me, I'm against VAR. I think it's the referee who should ref the game, and people sitting in a bus not involved with the game. How do they know the intensity, the feeling of the game, what every players are talking about? It's a lot of the emotion of the game too, and I like that when the referee can talk to the players and let the game live its own life. But now we have an extra camera on top of everybody who's watching over them, and some people sitting reading in a book about paragraphs and rules that people don't even know about. So for me, it's a silly thing, and I would just scrap VAR right today if I could.
I mean, Andy, it is a tricky one. I was an advocate of VAR when it was first coming in. I thought it was the right thing to do. I saw it was used in, the internationals, and I thought actually that's a good thing. It's a good opportunity to get things right. I feel like it has just been used completely wrongly. The people that are implementing it aren't doing the right things. I don't want to scrap it completely, because I think what it's there for is good, and it can help you to stop making some really silly decisions. But when it comes to offside, initially I had hit a point of, if you're offside, you're offside. But I think what's been lost in all of this, what is offside, is that the purpose of offside is to stop the opponent from having an advantage by being too far ahead of the defender when the ball was played. What they're looking for there on that one with Casemiro as an example is Casemiro offside? Is his toenail, or is his forehead, is a couple of his hairs across this line, which isn't an advantage. An advantage would be an actual body part that you could actually use to score a goal that is clearly in front of a part of the opponent's body that they could use to touch the ball legally. So it shouldn't, as Jarvis said, take that long to look at that picture and go, well, if you take Varane out of the picture, they're dead in line. Why are we sitting there and going, do you know what, his hand, he was doing the okey-dokey, so his hand was in, the other one's was out, that's it, he's offside. Well, you can't even hit the bloody ball with your hand and put it in the net. There's got to be some more common sense to this, hasn't there, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally taking the emotion out of the game, isn't it? Like, we scored that goal, we're all on our feet, and then you look back at it and it's like, oh no, they're going to VAR again. And then as soon as you see the shot, as when they say Varane is fine, you're like, what are they going to find that's offside here? The top of his shoulder, his knee, or something silly? But for me, offside, unless you're totally offside, like obviously offside, you should go in the favour of the attacker. we want to see goals in these games. We don't want goals disallowed for his toe or his millimeters offside or whatever. And I like the system that they use in the Champions League. It's like more of an automated system, isn't it? Where the decisions are made so quickly. It's like, let's check it, it's done, let's move on. Let's not waste 5-6 minutes of a game. I mean, we was at the end of the game there as well, where it was getting like fast paced. We were, the game was picking up because both teams were looking for goals, and you just take 6-7 minutes out of the game, and everything's just a big like, you know what I mean? Us as fans, as players, they must feel the same. And it's just there's got to be better ways of doing it.
I would agree. I mean, but I was sat there the longer that went on and thinking to myself, if this doesn't go, it's going to be like a pantomime. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be boos everywhere. So the tension absolutely was there. And I think the cheer of relief was quite something, but equally wasn't necessary. So remember there, it's just the people that run VAR that are crap. The AFCON had good VAR. Now, I can't say that I watched a tremendous amount of AFCON. I don't recall seeing any VAR decisions when I was watching it at all, to be honest, but I only really saw the final and a couple of other matches. I'm a busy boy, believe it or not. I'm on there far too much. So I don't get to watch all the stuff that I would like to. But if that's the case, absolutely brilliant. And I just want to say, Dave, yes, we did see that it was a blue one. I hadn't got it wrong. I was going like that because I'm like, no, I'm right. Well, I agree with you. Why do they want to introduce something new when they can't even sort out the rules they've got at the moment? So yeah, Dan, for you, your thoughts on? I mean, we barely mentioned the goal. It's all gone round to the VAR side. So what did you make of Casemiro's header? And your thoughts on how crap VAR was on that occasion?
I'm going to slightly disagree with Twilumber on this one. I thought Fernandez meant it in terms of he'd hit some poor crosses through the game. I think he saw the gap and he thought, if I hit it there, it's going to be dangerous. I don't necessarily... This is the issue with how people perceive footballers because of FIFA. No player, when they put a cross in, is aiming for a particular player. They normally aim for an area and then they hope that the player gets there rather than... I'm going to hit this ball perfectly on Casemiro's head. It's not how it works. You're taught to go for areas. Same with long shots. It's just repetition. You take a shot. If it goes in, you buzz in. If it don't go in, you need to practice more. So I did think he meant it. I thought it was a good goal. I was absolutely buzzing when it went in because Casemiro was... I didn't think had his best game, but he looked better than he has. And he just he's got a habit of popping up with these really important goals for Man United. He really has. So yeah, I was really buzzing with the goal. When I saw the first replay, I've got to be honest, I thought we might have an issue with Varane here because he is offside. He's grappling with his man, and people seem to lose this in translation of the Chelsea one. It's not that you fouled the man; it's that you're actively engaging with the man whilst offside. So it wasn't a foul in the Carabao Cup final. It's because he was offside because he was interfering with play. And then as soon as they said they've cleared Varane, I was legitimately looking, going, what are we looking at now then? And then a minute went by and I'm sat here going, I'm still utterly baffled because he looked so clearly onside. I don't even think they would have to get the lines out. And why are we still looking? And I try not to go through the conspiracies, but I was like Barry, I'm just, what is going off that it's taken so long? Once you clear Varane, that should have been the end of it. As soon as they said, you know what, whoever Varane's marking or grappling with is never getting the ball because it was a near post cross, that's it, onside, done, finished. And for me, if we have to keep VAR at the current standard, I'm scrapping it completely. It's not worth keeping.
Just to play the devil's advocate, seeing it from the referee's point of view, it was the dying minutes of the game. It's a cup game. So everything they needed to be 100% sure that they made the right decision. So in a way, if I was a Nottingham Forest fan, I wouldn't be that bothered. At least they know that they didn't lose on an offside goal.
I genuinely thought
in the cup. So in a way, trying to see it from the other different perspective. I
thought they would have spent a little bit more time checking Varane than they did. They seemed to clear Varane instantly. So I was like, oh, that's that sorted. He's been cleared. But in terms of VAR, I would genuinely scrap. If it's going to be like this, just get rid of it. VAR for me was bought in for. I'll use Man United examples, so I'm not can't be called biased. Remember, Ashley Young punched a Southampton player in the stomach. I think it was Tadic, and ended up with a 3-game ban after the game. That's what VAR should be for. It was a clear punch in the stomach. He should have been sent off there and then. You've got goal line technology for stuff like Carroll. I mean, you think back to the Champions League. The season we didn't win the league when Drogba, I think it was 2 yards offside. There was a goal against Porto that was 2 yards off. This is the sort of stuff it should have been brought in for, not for tiny, tiny little issues. Even we're talking about Casemiro, but even the Fernandez and Felipe thing, it's just a little bit of handbags, really. Just move past it quickly. There's no point, no one's punched anybody, no one's bitten anybody, no one's double-footed anybody. Let's just move on from it. It's just let them get on with the game. Literally bring it back for stuff that you think, he's done him in a tackle there. We need to have several looks at that because we think he's gone for him, sort of thing. Scale it back to that's pretty clear what happened there. Not, well, my opinion could be this or my opinion could be this. Just literally, that's it. No rival fan can argue because he just decked him in the nose. It's got to be a red card. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it should be for.
Do you know what? I wouldn't even do that. I would go for a bit of a hybrid between what you're saying there and what Jarvis is saying, because Jarvis is saying the ref should ref the game. Now, I've been a ref, granted not at great big massive levels where they're proper grown adults, but I've been a ref, and there are times, let me tell you, when you are refereeing that game and you just go, I ain't 100% sure about this. So you go by the laws of probability. You go, I'm maybe 75% sure, and then you go for it. And once you've made that decision, the decision is made, and you can't go back on it. And actually, I think if the referee had the option of saying, do you know what, I'm not sure about this, let me just have a quick check on the replay, that would be different, because the ref is making that decision. The ref is going, you know what, listen, I want to be right about what I'm saying. And it should be a tool for the refs. Instead, the refs are still being done to. They're still being told, go and check, go and look. You might have made a mistake here, young man. Off you go and have a look. Whereas actually, if you're doing it and you're going, do you know what, he might have taken him over, I'm not 100% sure. In my mind, there is a bit of doubt. I'll go and have a look.
I don't like the suggestive... Do you know this is suggestive nature when you listen back to the recordings? I don't like the suggestive nature of the people that are watching it. So they go, well, I think that he's done this.
Yeah.
Don't say anything to the referee. Just say, would you like to have a look? Yeah, you know what? I'll go and have a look. Don't speak in my ear. I saw that. Right, I don't like it. Or yes, I got it wrong. But it's very suggestive what they say. So yeah, I agree. But it's definitely the people in charge aren't trained well enough to be doing it. They just, I don't know. It's going to take a few more years, but I don't really want to watch this. I've got a few of my friends support championship teams, and one of them's doing quite well at the minute. And he looked at me the other day and he went, I hope we don't win today. And I'm just like, what? What are you talking about? You hope you don't win? He went, well, we'll be back in the Premier League, and I don't want to come back into the Premier League because the championship football is better. He prefers it to what he has to watch in the Premier League. So it's an interesting one, but I would, as it stands, I'd scrap.
That is the joy. Is grassroots football does become much more appealing the more that the Premier League continues to eat itself. George Best saying, how about each team gets one video challenge by half? I've advocated that before as well as being a thing, so that clubs feel they can do it. This, on the other hand, is slander. And I mean, quite frankly, I've never been anything but nice to you, Twillenberg. And right now, I'm just feeling a little bit hurt. I don't know what you're trying to. You calling me blind, or you just think my opinions on football are really that bad? But hey, I don't know. Opinions. That's what it's all about, eh? Right, last little bit then. We obviously won the game. It was a delightful game to win, but we knew, and this was half the problem for me. The minute I found out we were playing the winner of Liverpool against Southampton, I can't lie, there was a little part of me that was just like, it doesn't really matter if we go out because this might actually be the last round that we get to play in anyway. Yeah. Now, I know that's an incredibly defeatist thing to say, and it's not the sort of thing I'm proud of admitting, but the thought of playing Liverpool at the moment when their kids have just done, what they've done in the cup final against Chelsea, it's a bit of a worry. So I need you guys to pep me up a little bit here. So Andy, do you feel that we said before the game and even for the match, this was the only bit of silverware we think we've got a chance of winning? Do we still feel like that going into this game against Liverpool? Are we still feeling this is it? Because let's be fair, it is just one game and anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we get them to Old Trafford and we just have a go. Do you know what I mean? If we can stop them winning that quad or whatever they're going on about at the minute, let's just have a go. What I don't want us to do is park the bus like we did at Anfield and just try and get them on the break, defend. Let's just have a go. Let's get them to Old Trafford. Old Trafford will be bouncing. So let's just have a go. Let's just attack them and see if they can take our attackers like we're going to be taking theirs. And if they're going to put a few kids on, let's just drop a couple of them and just make it hard for them. Let's have a go.
Like that. That's a nice bit of positivity. And I know it's Willumber. I'm only pulling your leg, mate. It's not a problem. Jarvis, for you, what do you reckon? Are you feeling comfortable? It is annoying watching all of this Klopp loving at the moment. Now, I still find it amazing he's been at the club for 9 years. Like, it doesn't feel that long. And I don't know why it doesn't. But when people say to me, yeah, he's been there 9 years, I sit there and think, really? 9 years? Christ, where did all that go? It doesn't feel like it. Maybe it's because he's only won one League Cup, one league trophy. And you think maybe he should have won more with the side that he's had. And I don't say that to be disrespectful. I just mean, like, literally with City, they've won a lot. So you imagine Pep Guardiola's been there a while. Klopp with his one league trophy, doesn't feel as though he's won as much, even though he's pushed City quite far. Do you feel that this is a chance for us to end this ridiculous notion of a quad and the fact that he might end up on the same number of trophies as Kenny Dalglish, or what? What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about Liverpool. I think this is a game that we can win, especially on Old Trafford. And I have to say, this Liverpool team, okay, they are on top of the league and they are producing good results. But when I look at the material of players like Cody Gakpo and Szoboszlai, and they have Van Dijk, who's starting to get a little bit slower, is not as good as he used to be. Luis Diaz, inconsistent. The Asian guy Endo, like the epiphany of a new defensive midfielder, but he's not Fabinho. So the only one they have left, like really fair, is Mohamed Salah, and even him is getting older. So I think this team we should be able to beat them on a good day. And it's not like facing City. I'm much more worried going up against Manchester City, but this Liverpool team, I think we can take them. And the players, they just need to show up and do their best. It's the derby that counts. It's a Liverpool game. Manchester City, there's no problem in a way losing against City because they have basically no fans. You don't meet a guy at work who will banter you because you lose against Manchester City. But if you lose against Liverpool, you will hear it for weeks and maybe months and maybe years if it's a 7-up. So so the thing is, this is a game that we need to win. So for me, yeah, I'm happy we can meet Liverpool. If we're gonna win the cup, we gotta beat Liverpool anyway, in a way. So let's just go.
Now, Dan, I just thought I'd double check when the match was, and I can't lie to you, it's just depressed me even further because on the 16th of March is when we are going to be facing the mighty Liverpool as it stands, Saturday, March 16th. My only hope now is that they change that because of the television. And I say that because the 16th of March will be my 42nd birthday. I have got this horrible feeling that people are just trying to get it out for me. So, help. Is my 42nd birthday going to be ruined by the Devils in Red?
I mean, I'm frantically checking whether I'm at work or not now. Do you know what? My entire family support Liverpool, so I've had it worse than anybody in the last decade. I like Klopp but hate him all at the same time because he's a Liverpool manager. I think we can beat anybody on our day at Old Trafford, and that's the mindset they need to go into. And do you know what? If Rashford's going to be putting out these, he's committed to the club. If you could just smash an hat-trick against them, everyone's going to love him again, and I'll forgive you forever. We've got to turn it into siege mentality. That game, it is literally our only chance to win a trophy, so we need to go in that game that this is our only chance to win a trophy. We need to be chasing every ball, kicking every player, just anything you can to win. It's important that we do that. Got to remember that Liverpool are on a little bit of a run at the minute in terms of they've got a lot of games coming up because they're still in lots of competitions. So they will be chopping and changing their team, and it wouldn't shock me if Klopp didn't maybe drop a couple for the visit to Old Trafford. We need to take any advantage we can get. I honestly would. I think I want to say that we're going to win. I think he's going to surprise us, Ten Hag. I think he's going to get some out of these before the end of the season. I can see us getting into another cup final. And I don't say that lightly. I genuinely think he's going to manage to get something out of them. They've got to know how important it is as a squad that we do something of note this season. He knows that for his own job as well. But let's be honest, some of these players are playing for the future with Ineos coming in. And I genuinely think that a lot more players are playing for their future than what's reported in the media. I think there's quite a few players that you would think are cert to stay, and maybe they're not. So this is the chance to put up or shut up, really.
For sure. Dave giving it the we can't let the Scousers think they're going to win the quad. I mean, we can't let anyone think they're going to win the quad. That's just madness, really. And Swalumber thinks that he will choose the FA Cup over Europa. That will Europe.
What time was that kickoff again?
4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, 3 p.m.
The 3 p.m. FA Cup.
Yeah,
as it stands, yeah. But then they haven't
3 p.m. is it?
Showing what yet?
They play Thursday night against Sparta Prague at Anfield, so I don't think it will be for 3 o'clock.
It won't be Saturday.
Move to the Sunday.
Yeah,
most likely.
Thank God for that. I don't mind if they ruin St. Patrick's Day. I'm not fussed about that. Not as much as they like. Just don't ruin my day. I'm not being funny. I'm being attacked from all angles here. I've had my eyesight had a go at, and now people giving it 40-second. Paul, honestly, mate, what are you doing to me? I'm presuming he thinks I look 30. This must be what it is.
It's turned into the roast of Barry.
Don't worry, Barry. I'm 47, so.
Well, I'll tell you something, mate. You don't look 47. I look older than you, so I can understand now why people are giving it the 40-second thing. But there we go. Your FA Cup matches, when you watch them, Jarvis, I assume they're just fairly easy to watch where you are. But I saw that the contract is going to go to TNT now from next year. So this may not concern you on this one, Jarvis, but just wanted a quick reaction from Andy and Dan there. This is an own goal, isn't it? To stick the FA Cup, which is, I don't want to say on its last legs, but it's very much relying on its history. People are not going to be purchasing TNT just for the FA Cup. So if you are not one of the big four teams that are in Europe, or indeed the others, because of the fact that European games are only shown on TNT at the moment, Crystal Palace fans, for example, they're not buying TNT just so they can watch themselves get knocked out in the fourth round of the FA Cup, are they? Was this an own goal? Should this just be kept to terrestrial TV?
Where are we going, me?
Either or.
You.
Probably you, to be honest with you, because Dan will just go on for half hours. So.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I love how the terrestrial channels cover it at the minute. You've got it on like ITV, ITV4, BBC, BBC Three, and all that. It should be. It's such a big competition, like worldwide. It should be on terrestrial telly. Everyone should be able to watch it. You shouldn't have to be paying these billion-dollar companies to watch it. Everyone should be able to enjoy it. But I hate the monopolizing of it. It's horrible.
No, I think and Dan, for you, I mean, you're not old enough to remember it, but the FA Cup final literally used to be a thing that everybody would sit down around the TV and watch. You know, it was massive. If it's only going to be on TNT, let's be honest, people just go to the pub, really, wouldn't they, to go and potentially watch that rather than forking out, because it's ridiculous the amount of money TNT costs. Actually, it is just getting TNT on its own is an absolute outrage for a cost. What would you say about that?
It's a weird one for me because I genuinely watch 99.9% of my games outside the house anyway, on Sky in the pub and TNT in the pub. So it's a bit different, but I'm hoping they do a surprise where maybe the tie of the round is like on YouTube or on free to watch TV, if that makes sense. And they might just keep the others behind the paywall. But it's monopolizing the game. It's exactly where you don't want football to go. It's supposed to be for everybody, not just for people who can afford it. And it's genuinely getting to the point. We had the Fulham fell on a few weeks ago, where regular people are being priced out of football in general. You just can't watch it anymore, even on TV. Like you say, the packages are absolutely out of this world. It's thousands if you want all the channels for the year, and then you don't even get to watch your own team. So it's for me, they should have left it on normal TV. But then again, they should put more football on normal TV as well.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe not the biggest games, but if you like me, and I'm sure most of the people here are, I'll watch any football. I will sit and watch Norwich Swansea. I don't care. As long as it's a decent standard, it's worth watching. So we should stick more of that on TV to get it to more people. However, I genuinely think, and you'll enjoy this, Barry, I think this might boost the women's game a little bit more, because that is for everybody to watch currently. It's accessible for everybody. There's not I don't think there's any games behind paywall. You get Champions League on the YouTube for free. Do you know what I mean? That's where
Sky obviously have got a game. They show roughly one game a week on Sky Sports. There is that, but other than that, they are
most of it. Is literally available to everybody, and that's how football should be. It should be for the masses. And then you talk about the football being behind paywalls and stuff, but then you've got the 3 p.m. shutouts as well that aren't on TV. So if you can't go to the game and you want to watch the game legally in the UK, you can't watch it. So you miss it. So they need to readjust it. They're not going to. Let's be honest, they're greedy, but they need to readjust it. But it's not going to happen.
How much is it actually you have to pay in Britain to watch Premier League and the Cup?
Well, this is it. So Paul's just put it. Watch all the televised football. You need Sky, TNT, Amazon, and a TV license. So Sky, if you wanted all of the channels, last time I had that, it was costing me between 80 and 100 quid to get every channel, including the sports. TNT is £30 a month. DAZN, I think you could get a contract for about £10 a month. Amazon is the same, about £10 a month, and a TV license is about £13 a month. So just looking at that, that's 80, 170 pounds. You're looking at about 150 quid per month, which, to be honest, you could buy a season ticket for that at your local club if you really wanted to. So I was just going to ask you on that one, Jarvis. Obviously, when you're abroad, it's not quite as bad, I don't think. You seem to get...
we know I pay £80 for the Premier League and the FA Cup and League Cup and one channel, and if I want to watch £80. And if I want to watch Champions League and Europa League, it's another £40. So £120 a month is basically what I'm paying. But I also get then the Bundesliga, Serie A, and the Netherlands, Eredivisie, and some of the Serie A matches. So it's a lot of football, but I don't have the time to see anything else but Man United games. So
I know the feeling. It's a lot of money, and as Paul Greaves says, it's a disgusting amount. And Bestie saying the FA Cup's my favourite competition in the USA, and I can't see a single game. It kills me. I'm presuming that's not because you're 67 and more because it's just not available. Hey, I'm having a go now. I'm sorry, Bestie. I'm feeling a little bit attacked. Bless him. He doesn't seem 67. He's in it every day, and I adore Bestie. So that's good stuff. Okay, Paul's saying here next year you'll need a DAZN subscription to watch the Women's Champions League. I'm not convinced that's true. Unless there's something new has just come out. Because at the moment it's not working for them. There's not enough people wanting to purchase the subscription due to the fact that, again, not all of your clubs are in there. So, as a Man United fan, why am I going to pay money for DAZN just to watch Chelsea maybe or Arsenal or something like that? You're just not. So there you go. So I'm not going to put that up to them, but just in case you get arrested. So, we'll leave that one there. I'll just put that one there. It's all good. Right. Paul saying for next season is I'll look into it, mate. I've not seen that. If they do, then I can see the same thing happening as happened this season, because, like I say, the demand's just not there. And seeing as our Man United women don't look like they're going to be in there, I certainly wouldn't be getting a DAZN subscription. So there we go. Well then, gang, it has been another fantastic evening. We've done a great job. We've got through the whole shebang, and now we have got to look forward to City, and hopefully tomorrow we will be sat here with a City fan entering the Lion's Den. Will we find one brave enough to come in and to, we turned into a cow there, Dan. We'll see if we can get one of them in here. Do they have the minerals, as Jason Statham would say, to come into the Lion's Den? We shall find out. Other than that, it's just for me to say thank you all in the comments. Again, you've been absolutely brilliant. If you haven't liked the video, please do so before you leave the YouTube page. That would be absolutely wonderful. And cheers again.
Massively.
It really does. Tell them why.
Because then we hit more algorithms, so then we can do more content. It really does help. Honestly, you can tell a noticeable difference when we hit double figures to when we don't. So we really appreciate it.
There we go. So if you understood a word Dan said, congratulations. If you didn't, just click the like button. That's literally all you need to do. Don't worry about the whys. Just do it. You sat here and watched us. You didn't have to pay for it. We're not asking for £150 a month. Just click the bloody like. It's that simple. We'd be forever in your debt. So thank you for that. Jarvis, amazing to have you back on the channel. It's always great to have you on. So cheers for that. Beanie, same to you as well. Thank you for popping along. And Dan, as ever, absolute pleasure. For the rest of you, have a lovely evening. And I guess we'll see you all tomorrow to do it again. Good night. That's the wrong button. Silly Barry.